Neil Donald Walsh's book, Conversations with God. And in that book, he talks about something that blew me away. It's called the divine dichotomy. And the divine dichotomy basically goes like this. Two seemingly contradictory thoughts or concepts can both be correct or both be incorrect, or one can be right, the other can be wrong, or vice versa, depending on your perspective. Whoa, so something was wrong with my perspective. And then that brought me to a realization of some interesting things. I realized that your perception depends on your perspective, okay? They're different. And I looked at the word analyze and realize. And I noticed something funny that really cracked me up. When you analyze, you're anal. When you realize, you're real. I was being anal because I was analyzing too much. And you can only go so far with logic and analysis. You have to open your heart. And that's where I met Ilona. Ilona was a brilliant psychologist that I connected with, and we had fabulous conversations. Women are more connected with their heart in general, I think we'll notice as men. And she would always tell me at the end of a conversation, she'd say, Michael, you know, you're just not getting some things because you're analyzing too much. You're too much in your head. You have to open your heart. Because I would argue with her points until she just would say that. And I said, Ilona, okay, I want to open up my heart. If that's what I need to do, how do I do that? You know, I'm stuck. So I can give you a technique to do it, but I'm warning you, you might become more emotional. You might have more feelings. You might cry more often. I said, okay, give it to me. Maybe I'm fearless. Tell me what I need to do. So Ilona told me this. She said, Michael, when you're falling asleep tonight, you're going to be in alpha state just before you fall asleep. And what you want to do is this. Walk downstairs, open up a door, and imagine you find a forest path that leads deep into the forest. Walk into the forest path and just wait till somebody or something, either an animal or a person or an alien, I don't know what, but just be open to whatever might appear. I didn't believe anything was going to work. I was analytical still, and so I walked down the path, and it was a beautiful forest in my mind. Nothing came, and I said, okay, I didn't think it was going to work. I was a skeptic, and I was right, proving myself right? And I fell asleep. Next time I saw Ilona, I presented her with what happened. She says, no problem, don't worry about it. Do it again. This time, imagine that you are yourself as a little boy. I was like, okay, I'll try it again. It's not going to work, but I'll try it again. So, I'm almost about to fall asleep, walking down the stairs, open the door again, walking down the path, and I see somebody approaching me from the path down in the forest. We're getting closer and closer, and I see it's a woman. And then I recognize who the woman is. It's my mother, who committed suicide when I was 16 years old, living in Israel, and I hadn't seen her for 2 years. I never really mourned her death. I was detached from that moment on. So my mother approaches, and I approach her. We give each other a big hug. I melt into her arms, and she was my mommy. And I get teared up a little bit when I tell this. And my adult self that was in bed cried like I never cried before in my life. I finally mourned her death. And my pillow was soaked. Half an hour at least I cried. Couldn't stop, hardly. And after that, I reported it to Ilona. She said, congratulations, Michael, you opened up your heart chakra.